here with OptionVue. I'm a product consultant here. Been here for 6.5 years or so now. Going to be talking about Survey today. Survey is a scanning tool in OptionVue that looks to our price charts and volatility charts to kind of gather some information about the underlying and the volatility characteristics of the options of those underlyings. Kind of leading you down a road to find a trade and do some more in-depth analysis, basically to design a trade that that you're looking to accomplish. So I'm going to go ahead and share my desktop with you now. And I'm going to pull up OptionVue here. So you should be seeing my OptionVue screen. Perfect. Let me drag this out of the way so you don't have to see that. Okay, so kind of wanted to get general at first here. There are some other things you can do with Survey as far as scanning for some things and creating some watch lists based on that. And kind of what I have done in the past is down here at the bottom of OptionVue, you're going to see tabs. I have a tab that I'm looking at throughout the day. I have a futures tab. I have ETF sector tab. And you can create kind of watch lists if you wanted to down at the bottom here. Okay, so if I went to my survey feature now, which is under the auto scan tools at the top here, I'm going to click on survey. And one thing you could do right off the bat is you can select whether you want to look at stocks, indexes, ETFs, futures-based assets, all of them together, or just one in particular. An example of a scan that you could look at is you could say you're going to pick them based on and sort them based on. So these are two different parameters you can set up here. Okay, this is what we're going to do first. But you can also do minimum DVO. Okay, so this is only going to look at things that have a average dollar volume of options traded of $100,000 or more. So that when I put 100 in there, that means 100,000. Okay, and then you can screen them based on underlying price. So I'm saying I only want to look at things that are trading at $35 or more. You could also have a max price in there. Okay, and I'm going to be looking at percentiles, and I prefer 2 years. Some people prefer 1 year, and I want to make sure that there's a minimum history that this thing has been trading for 2 years. Okay, so right here off the bat, I'm going to be able to find right away what has the greatest dollar volume from options traded across the board. Okay, and I'm going to pick the top 25 ETFs, and I just hit go here, and boom, it pulls this list up right away. Of course, as you can imagine, it's the SPYs at the top of the list, and kind of these ETFs that track the indexes have the highest DVO. Okay, and then it goes down from there. Okay, so you could left click on any one of these, and when you hit this insert button, what it does is it moves that particular symbol right to the quotes display. Wherever you are currently on the quotes display, whatever underline you have highlighted under whatever tab, it would pull that symbol over there. Okay, so let me close this for a second. For instance, if I wanted to create a new watch list, and I could insert a tab and name it test. Okay, and then I can go ahead and click on that test. Okay, now I have my blank quotes display here ready to go, ready to be customized however you want. Okay, so now I go back to survey, and I'm going to keep this one highlighted here, and I'll hold down the shift key, and I'll click on the last one. Now it highlights all of them, and I hit the insert button. Okay, and now we can close this and go back, and you can see they all came in right here. Okay, so if you ever had, you can also do this with anything that the other scans we're going to do. You can create a new tab in the quotes display and bring all these symbols so that you can have a nice group here. One of the other reasons you might want to do this is now that you have a group, you may want to go ahead and run a trade finder against those groups. Okay, which you can do if you had some kind of, you wanted to look for condors or butterflies or things like that. You could have it search the group through each of the underlines to find the best trade based on whatever further parameters you put in Trade Finder. Okay, now it's just as easy to get rid of this tab as well. You would just right click on it and say delete tab if you wanted to get rid of it. Okay. Okay, so actually we are going to go back to my live tab here and go back into survey. So that is kind of a cool thing to be able to do. And not only you can do it for ETFs, I can uncheck this now and go back to stocks. Let's see which stocks have the greatest dollar volume of options trade. I guess you can imagine you're going to have your Googles and Apples, Amazons, things like that in this list. But this kind of tells you right off the bat, right now, currently, Lockheed Martin has the greatest dollar volume of options traded currently, priced above 30 on stocks priced above $35. Okay, so just some interesting information to be able to look at and gather quickly, and it's based on how liquid those underlines are. So now you can go in further, and again, what this is doing, okay, it's looking at, you got these IV percentiles, SV percentiles, you've got IV ratios, okay, IV SV ratios, and you can combine these two. So what you could do is you could say, I want to look at the stocks that have the highest implied volatility right now, period, and rank them based on greatest dollar volume options traded. Okay, and we can see the top 25 of those. Okay. Okay, so Hain is something that I was watching this week. It took a real beating around, guessing it was earnings announcements. But what you could do to find out more information is you can highlight this right here. Let's take a quick look at the price chart. Okay, so when I click on the price chart, because I was highlighted on Hain there, you can see that it pulled it up right away there. Okay, now you can also click on this next button, and what it's doing is it's going through the list and looking at the price chart. So if you wanted to quickly go through your list and say, hey, let's take a look at the charts of each of these kind of quickly, you can do that. Okay. The other thing you can do is you can overlay the current volatility levels over these. So you get the blue line is your implied volatility. Your brown line here is your statistical volatility. Okay. And also what I have highlighted here, this button, is the earnings. So you can see if earnings has recently happened. Okay. Let's go back to the first candidate we were looking at, that Hain, and here it is, Hain's celestial chart. And you can see that the IV is still really high here. Okay. And it really dropped. I'm going to get rid of the current IV level there so we can see where it's at right now. Okay. So as far as a potential trade you want to do on this, you could say, okay, IV is high, it's dropped to this level. It looks like maybe it's probably going to hang out in its new home down here in the upper 30s to 40, and you could then click on a matrix. And I was actually looking at this, about 20 minutes before, and I was just saying, hey, there's no weeklies trading on Hain, but what if I just put a double calendar on, challenging it to stay within one standard deviation, which is what these shaded colors represent. The pink here is one standard deviation, and the blue gets out to the second. So I just put a calendar on at 42, and then another one on at 35, and you can analyze this, and you can see, that here in about 2 weeks roughly, you've got some nice returns going up to 19% break even and 13% to the downside. Okay, and if I go back to the price chart now, okay, and I click on this little button here, which is going to show us the profit zone on the price chart for this trade, potentially. And it shows you the trade that I'm looking at right up here at the top, above where it says Haynes Celestial Chart. And you can see here that this is a pretty nice little range that you're going to have gains in. If you wanted to do this for a week or 10 days or whatever, by going back to the matrix and analyzing this again, you can see that, by September 2nd, this is where I would be, okay? And I can increase that number of lines a couple of times so you can say, hey, on August 28th, 10 days from now, where would I be? Okay, this is your percent yield, percent gain, and here's the dollar amount based on the amount of contracts I'm doing here. So just one way to use survey to work your way into a potential trade. Let's go work our way back here to survey, and let me clear this. Okay, so that was the highest implied volatility. Let's look at something else. And what I want to look at now is highest IV-SV ratio. And we can rank them based on highest IV ratio. Okay. So basically, we're going to be finding things here that maybe have an announcement coming up, whether it be earnings, it could be a pharmaceutical company, it could be, the announcement of a potential merger or buyout or something like that. Okay, and then you can see here that currently the statistical volatility for ultra salons is at in the 3 percentile, and again, this is at looking over a 2-year period. So that means, 97% of the time over the last 2 years, statistical volatility was higher than where it is today. Okay, and the implied volatility is in the 75th percentile. So if I want to take a look at this, I can go to the matrix, I can go to the price chart. I'm going to go to the price chart, and I'm going to tell you that earnings are about to come out on this. Okay, we can look at the IV-SV numbers, and you can see whenever there's earnings coming out, you've got these spikes in volatility, and that's what's happening here. Okay. And you can see, because this thing has just been going straight up almost, that SV is really low. Okay, so if you were going to do anything on Alta, it would be an earnings play of some sort, anticipating that the earnings are going to really cause the IV to be up high, and which means there's probably going to be a big move in the underlying. If I went to the matrix for Ultra, we can take a look at the implied volatility. You can see it here, 60% implied volatility for next week, and then it drops off to 48 there. Okay, just to give you an idea of what this would look like. This is a straddle here, and just going to analyze it. Okay, and you can see that OptionVue does these predictions for you. OptionVue is going to tell you right here that it knows there's an event coming up next week. Okay, this solid line, which gets overlapped by this big dashed line, is showing you where you're going to be after the announcement. Okay, so if you put this straddle on today and held it through the announcement, which is in 8 days, these are where your break evens would be. Okay, and the kind of cool thing too is you can always go to a price chart and see what that's going to look like. Okay, so if you were to put this on, you have to expect that Alta is either going to jump, pretty high, or it's going to drop below this, about this level right here. Okay, so I'm going to clear that trade out. So that gets on to another subject as far as looking at earnings plays. But this is a way you could actually find some earnings plays based on where the volatility levels are at. Okay, let's see if we could find something else in here that perhaps isn't coming out with earnings. I know Lulu announces later. John Deere's announcing, I think, before the market opens tomorrow. Okay. Another thing we could do, so these are going to find, like I said, events. There's a reason the implied volatility is high. There's anticipation of something happening. Okay. But something else that's kind of neat we can look at is we could look at um, current highest current IV percentile. Okay, and let's see if we want to do something else. Sort them based on maybe highest current SV percentile. So there's a number of ways you can go about looking at this and then looking at the results it's going to give you. Okay, so this Williams-Sonoma, we've got some huge implied volatility and huge statistical volatility. Let's take a look at a price chart on this. Okay, I'm going to get rid of the volatility lines really quick here. Okay, so it's trading in this range right now. Let's look at the matrix. Actually, yeah, let's look at the matrix here. And I'm wondering if there's an event. Yep, it looks like there's an earnings announcement here. So they are about to come out with earnings soon. Let's take a look at another candidate maybe. Okay, we looked at Hain. Okay, so the nice thing about this is it's going to find things for you where the event happened. Statistical volatility is really high because it made the move, but the thing is you can capture some premium because the IV is still high and the move has already happened. That's kind of thing that I would look for if I was doing some trades like this. Let's see if I can find another thing to look at here. I know we're doing Sterile Cycle had a big move recently. Let's take a look at this. Earnings drop, bam. It's down to 85 now. Okay, let's take a look at a potential. Let's look at a matrix and see where the implied volatility is at right now. Okay, so there are no weeklies trading in this. Let me see if I'm defining all strikes here, and I am. So look at my model real quick. No slippage. Okay, let's just take a look at. Probably not something I would do just because there's no weeklies trading on it. Let's try to find another one here. Going to the price chart here, it did have earnings. Look at the big, huge move it had down to here to 58. Looks like there's a lot of support down here at 58. So I will go to a matrix. That looks like it wasn't earnings that did this. It looks like it was something else, some other form of news. Let's go to the matrix here. And let's just actually look at the price chart and the volatility chart here again. Okay, maybe not too much of an opportunity, but it does look like it's hanging out in that range down there. Let's just take a look and see what a calendar might look like here. Okay, maybe you could do a little double calendar there. And this is nice because this is only a trade you would hold on for a week, or 9 days, so to speak, because these fronts are going to expire and then you would get out of it. 38 and 63. Let's see. Maybe do something like this. And I'm just partial to calendars. You could do any type of trade here that you wanted to. Yeah, that one doesn't look so great. You could even do something at the money as well if you wanted to. Give it a little more time, maybe. Yeah. So, and that's what you do. You're able to go into survey, find these characteristics, and you're able to go in and then start seeing what those underlines and their volatility characteristics can give you. And when you're looking to sell premium, you want to make sure the premium's there. Okay. Another thing we could do up here. So this is just current IV and highest current SV, sorting them based on that. Let's look at something kind of an opposite scenario. Let's look at the lowest current SV percentile, and let's sort them that way as well. Okay, so we've got some really low statistical volatility. Apple, um, Amazon right now. And let's just take a look at the top and see what these price charts are looking like. Probably they're going to be, okay, and let me get rid of, so these are way down in these levels right here. Probably going to have some pretty low statistical volatility in a lot of these things. And it's interesting, this earnings season has kind of been this way in that we haven't had the huge moves that we've seen in the past from some of the big names that have that usually move a lot. Um, let's go to the next chart and see what that looks like. Yep. So these, when everything's hitting new highs and things like that, that's what really drives SV down like this and implied volatility down. Okay, look at this. Over the life of this chart, that's what these numbers mean, is that, this goes back to, actually I'm only looking at past 2 years, but over the past 2 years, you can tell statistical volatility and implied volatility have never been lower than they are right now. And you can just tell where they're at relative to where it's been in the past here. Okay. Let's go next here. Look at the next one. Yep, and you're going to have these really low percentiles right here. Okay, so a lot of times when you see really low percentiles, low SV and low IV, or they're in these percentiles, there's always, you hear, everything is mean reverting, which means it's going to get back to its normal level eventually. Okay, and that's an opportunity where you could potentially buy a straddle, because you can see that the IV is low, okay, and the IV is the 1 percentile. So in this scenario, this is where if you thought something was about to break out, or you were looking for breakout candidates based on low implied volatility and statistical volatility, this is one way you could potentially do it. I'm going to go to a matrix and just show you what this would look like if you were going to say you wanted to give it a month or something like that to do so. This is giving it a lot of time here, but you can see how tight these break-evens are right now, 1%, 1%. You go to a price chart, it's going to show you over time how this trade would perform and where it would have to move to in order for you to be profitable. Here's my little profit zone button here. Okay. So if you were expecting a breakout relatively soon, one way or the other, this would be okay. Let's try putting something on maybe a little closer and see what it looks like. Yep, and these are pretty, let's do more than that so we can see 5, and we'll do 5 here. Okay, definitely a little tighter range there. We go to the price chart and we'll look at again at this, and there you go. It doesn't have to move too much in either direction for it to be profitable. I mean, if it breaks out and tries to come up to the 62 level or hit new highs at 64, or if it comes down here to fill the gap, you're going to be pretty good shape. But that is what I would look at if I was looking at low SV. Okay. And again, you can change this. I just have 35 as a number. You could go down to $5 there if you wanted to look at it. Okay. Let's just do a run on some futures-based assets now. Let's just take a look at highest current IV percentile, and we'll base them on the same thing. Sort them based on the same thing, and I'll go there. Okay, we've got cotton. Look at this. There's something going on in cotton. Let's take a look at a price chart there. If the price chart is good, oh yeah, cotton's come down a lot. It looks like, wow. And so that'll get things moving. No, I haven't done. I used to do a lot more futures trading than I do now, so I don't really know where things are at as far as currencies or coffee or anything like that. I actually used to trade a lot of coffee in the past. Let's take a look at a price chart on KC right now. And Ivy. Ivy's pretty low. Statistical's pretty high. Usually when we say, you're looking for characteristics where you have statistical volatility trending down and implied volatility trending up, kind of a good scenario for some premium selling, be it a butterfly or a condor or something like that. You know, you could quickly go into a matrix here and see what a condor 30-day or maybe a November condor would look like. And I don't know, I haven't come into this matrix in a long time, so I'm not even sure I have it defined properly, but just throwing something up to see what it looks like 58 days out. Yeah, I must have some slippage settings wrong or something like that. None there. Nope. Or I'm not going far enough out. I need to find, let's do this to find, let's do 5-point strikes. Okay. Yes. Let's clear these trades and start over again real quick here just to take a look at something in the future side. I don't do that very often. And not a lot of professional grade options trade analysis software has the ability to look at the futures. And I'd have to define some more down there. That's why it's not doing that. I don't want to go through all that work. But let's just take a look. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah. So I'd have to change some settings or do some definition changes in this coffee matrix to make it look better or to find a better trade. Probably have to add some more strikes to on the put side there. But just so you know, we do have the data and everything like that and analysis capabilities for the futures markets as well. Okay, so that's kind of a little walkthrough on how you can use Survey. Basically, it's gathering all of our historical volatility charts and price chart data in order to help you zero in on potential candidates. You know, you could then take candidates and run a trade finder scan on them, like I said again, to find butterflies or condors or, you know, straddles even. Okay, and just to show you trade finder real quick, these are all the strategies you'd be able to select from. So I've been wanting to keep these presentations at about 30 minutes or so. We're gonna get ready to wrap it up here. Anybody has any questions, don't hesitate to throw in a chat there, or always call us here at OptionVue. I was going to throw up our homepage really quick here for you guys so you can see where you can find videos like this and other videos about trading strategies or about technical answers for your questions that tech support might have put up for you. But you would click on this support tab right here underneath our phone number, and then you could come to OptionVue Online Help. This is our help, basically our OptionVue manual that you can scan, for certain topics online. That's a good place to check that out. Here's our tutorial videos if you're just getting started. But really, if you go here, you click on YouTube, and this takes you to our YouTube channel. Okay, and you can look through the videos here. Okay, here's one I did a few weeks ago on earnings plays. That's a pretty good one. I kind of touched on that a little bit today, just showing you how you can use Survey to find those. But this would be a good one about that. Jeff did a nice presentation about our VXX trading system, which has done phenomenal so far this year. You can find out more about that. But this is, we used to have, this is kind of newer, this page, this year. So we're doing videos like this so we can load up with different topics. But just wanted to share that with you as well. Okay. So with that, I am going to sign off. Again, if you have any questions, you can reach us at this phone number, or you can always email me if you like, james@optionvue.com. And go ahead and stop the recording here. So again, thanks for coming, and we'll see you next time.